I appreciate the choss. Thank you for the great cast here tonight, Mr. Hickory. We appreciate having you on the desk every single week and hopefully for the further future. Dory, my apologies. Dunsey, you can tell where my mind's at.
Dude,
you can see it.
you're right, man. Say his name because Dory K came out to play tonight. I'm hoping to hear from him later on tonight, but man, the narrative coming in was Clockwork got swept by Lotus White. Man, we don't know what they're gonna do. They even had jungle issues going into game one. They didn't have any bans. The narrative was Kush Marbles might just take over. No. This is a complete reset for CB Clockwork going into week 3, 0-0 essentially. They just reset their entire win-loss ratio. They're 500 now after 2 weeks. They are feeling good with strong momentum heading into next week, man. What an incredible Clockwork win tonight.
Honestly impressed. I think Clockwork fixed a lot of the mistakes that we saw from them in their original series here last
Mm-hmm.
week. Granted, it was tough. It was against Lotus White, and those guys are looking to be one of the hardest competitors going into this light league season. But we talked a lot about the fact that this team lacked an identity. They didn't know quite how to play through their mid games, and while there was certain weaknesses that definitely kind of ebbed and flowed back into this series here tonight, I feel like they had a real sense of direction, and that's the biggest improvement that I could have hoped for tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, sure they ebbed and flowed, but it was just a death sentence, really, what Dory K provided to the side of
Ha,
Supports Burden.
haha,
I'm telling you, man,
no
that
pun intended.
he's found a new main. I think Thresh was a huge prio pick in week 1 that he didn't really get to play because Fire Streaks is also a Thresh main. But we're gonna see a lot of Dory K Thresh moving forward. The other thing is like we got to see a treat in Booty Bang and Billy just come out on the LeBlanc and the Diana. That was amazing. Revan Storm showed why he is a solid top laner, taking out what we thought was going to be the carry potential from Kush Marbles, and just handling that lane completely well. Tree Trunks was almost a non-factor. Instead, you had this new jungle sub who are we going to see him in the future?
Yeah.
This fit was kind of so good. The flex picks that they're able to provide between Rumble, between Wukong, Poppy, like all these nice little draft subtleties that Clockwork pulled out tonight, just all the stops, they really had a full team commitment tonight. Let's not forget about the Forgotten Turtle. He provided that DPS all night as well. Great overall team win for them.
Absolutely. And I'm honestly excited to see where CB Clockwork now kind of matches up as a whole. I don't think the first series is a great, pace for this team to get a good idea of their full right and identity. I'd like to see how they maybe match up against teams like Classic Esports or Divine Ascension Obsidian, who might be a bit more middle of the pack. But that being said, I believe we do in fact have an interview to get to here tonight. We're going to be bringing on Dory K to the desk, and I'm going to be signing off here for Dunsey on this one, as he's done a great job giving us a rundown of what he thought and how the series went as a whole. But we're moving back over to Mr. Sheltrons. I'll be joining him, taking the place of Hickory, to question the man himself. Dory, welcome to the desk.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Dory, my man, look, I have to admit, after seeing you in week number 1, playing those 2 games of Leona and that 1 game of Morgana, I had a few questions that I needed to be answered out of you, and your gameplay in all 3 of these games, I think, gave me more questions than answers. Let me ask the most obvious one. Where did this Thresh come from, and why were you not pulling it out week number 1 against Lotus White?
Honestly, I was pretty intimidated. I've role swapped actually to support to play in Light League. I found an ADC that I really trust, Forgotten Turtle. I know him and I had a really rough first week, but I knew once we figured out how to play together, we'd do a whole lot better. And to be completely honest, like playing against Necrocs and Fire Streaks was rough for the first week. So I just needed to find my stride and learn how to play my game instead of getting nervous and trying to force plays all the time and dying double digits every game.
Fair point. That brings to question then. Is the Leona dead? Will we see her grace the rift at any given point once again?
When I'm allowed bans, I'll probably be getting rid of things that give it trouble. Like the Thresh obviously gives it a lot of trouble. A lot of these stally, disengaged comps that just play for mid game and scaling that are prominent are tough to play Leona into, but I think she's also super easy to play, and I'll just practice some more.
Yeah, fair said. Well said.
You know, Dora, you did mention trust when you said you role swapped over to play in light. Now, in our week 1 spotlight we had you guys, our read was that all resources go to Billy in the mid lane, and we try to work through and make him the hard carry for the team. But speak to the level of trust it takes for you as a support and Forgotten Turtle as the AD carry to know that the game plan from the beginning is to let him get through the first few levels and then know that you're going to be leaving. What kind of what does that say to your synergy in the bot lane, your synergy as players, and the shot calling? Just how does it feel to have that kind of relationship with your AD carry, to know that he can trust you to leave, you can trust him to play strong enough and well enough in lane while you're gone?
We had a very hard time with it early on, but all week in practice, we've taken a look at when we play and figured it out together. Because I'll admit, I left him to dry a lot in the first week, and he got punished for it a lot. And that's pretty much all we did. I think Booty Bangin' Billy's an awesome player, and I've wanted to get him a team for like 2 years now that actually lets him shine as a player, because I think he's a lot better than his results have been.
Well, hey, I suppose it's definitely worked out. Showed it up tonight. A lot of great potential from the whole. But speaking of additionally new players, John Anderson coming out of the woodwork, literally into the jungle here. What's your opinion on that one?
Honestly, we didn't know what to expect. I think we would have done just fine with Decelerate. I don't think he necessarily was the problem for our team. But Anderson Cooper is somebody I've enjoyed watching play in Blue Water League for quite a few seasons now, and somebody that I've really enjoyed getting to know since joining CB. And I didn't know what to do. Decelerate's not the kind of person that will just disappear, so I hope whatever happened to him tonight, he's okay. But hopefully he'll be back next week. I think we'll be just as strong, but I think Anderson Cooper, he always pulls through when he fills in for somebody.
Well said. Is there any chance we might see him again?
There's a chance. Definitely going to add him as a sub in case we have any other emergencies in the future.
And that's a good point to add as well. Since you are such a heavy roaming support, that synergy with your AD carry is important, but also the synergy with your jungler is important. We saw in at least 2 of the games, I think every single one of the games, you were rotating around, helping him in the jungle, helping him secure objectives, whether you were on the objective, actually hitting it, getting more vision deep on the enemy side of the map. Just how different is it, I guess, playing with Anderson Cooper than it is Decelerate? Are they about the same kind of mindset as junglers, or does it change at all the way you play the game and how you roam with Anderson Cooper on the map?
I think it's a matter of getting that trust with Decelerate. Again, the theme of last week was I tend to be really aggressive when I play support going into the enemy jungle. I like to push for lane priority and just leave my lane often. Uh, and Decelerate wasn't necessarily comfortable playing that style with me, and I think I just need to work on communicating with him better. I think Anderson Cooper just handles it naturally a lot better, and we also gave him jungle matchups that allowed him to do that, and our laners just kind of showed up to play instead of giving up really easy advantages in lane.
Well, I will say it definitely looked like it worked out, provided many leads over the course of this series as a whole. Now, looking towards the future here for CB Clockwork, you guys have found your first major success. What's next to conquer? Who does this team look at to find some sort of victory that proves themselves further?
Um, I don't really know a lot of the teams in Light League this season, but I was really excited to play against Lotus, and I was super disappointed to lose like that against them because I thought we had a better chance. But somebody I'm actually excited to play against that I've seen is Classic Esports. I've seen them post in pretty much every server I'm in, and I've never gotten a really good chance to actually play against them. But I kind of like, at least on paper, the team that they put together. So I'm excited to play against them and see if we can at least get 2 wins out of that series.
I think that is definitely possible. Next week you have is Enigma, and that's going to be I think, fairly a fairly even matchup, a much better showing for you guys there. Now, my mind is on your draft because I think at least in two of these games, definitely game number two where you had the Wukong jungle Poppy top into Riven was a smart pick, but the Senna Seraphine bot lane we had questions about, right? I think the Desk had questions about it. The us casters, me and the Hickory had questions about it, and even to a certain degree, maybe even this game number three, we had a bit of a question about in some respects. Talk to me about how you guys go into drafts, and do you draft for comfort? Do you draft for trying to counter specific champions, or are you drafting to see like you see how teams play? Are you drafting to counter what their play style is, or is it just a matter of the way you feel when you get in the draft?
Um, we basically just compile a list of the highest priority picks on the patch and try to figure out what's good. With the jungle changing so drastically, literally tomorrow for mid league, I don't know how they're gonna handle playing on patch day. But honestly, we knew Rumble was gonna be contested. We knew Tristana had a chance to be contested, and it kind of showed in game three. But we basically just tried to think about what is going to give us laning advantages, because like you guys said on the desk earlier, pretty much we succeeded in lane and then we kind of fell flat and didn't know what to do outside of lane. So we tried to just smash lane as hard as we could and transition into leads and try not to throw the leads, because I know it looked pretty shaky mid to late game two and game three at times.
Well, personally, I think you guys found success through the draft, and while your strategy seems to be out there, I think it's definitely working for CB Clockwork, and hopefully it'll prove evidentful for these further games in the future. I will say one last question for me. Any shout outs to anyone here in chat or, of course, across the rosters that you might run?
Honestly, I hope everyone keeps watching. CB's been an awesome org to join. You guys might know the last season's MCE roster now plays for CB as well. And Accelerate, if you're in the chat, he's an awesome org owner, and I've never gotten to work with him until now, and it's been so cool. But hopefully we just keep getting better, because I am so tired of losing, man. I want to win, and I'm coming to win.
Well, hey, you won
There it
tonight.
is.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
so much, guys.
yeah. Have a good one, Dory. We hope you wish you, or my apologies. We hope you have the best success going for the future.
Don't let it
here.
get to your head, though.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll see you guys all for mid tomorrow.
Take
No,
it
you
easy,
won't.
Dory.
Okay.
Not
I'll
me.
be the silent cameraman. But yes, I appreciate
There
it,
you
guys.
go. There you go. You'll see Mac. He's in chat.
Oh, for sure. Hi, Matt.
All right, Shells. Any last thoughts here regarding the series as a whole before we wrap this one up?
Well, I thought this was a much more even matchup than either one of these teams saw in their first week. Obviously, CB Clockwork going against Lotus White was, I think, a mismatch, but I did not expect to see the clean 3-0 from CB Clockwork here. So I'm very, very much so looking forward to see how they progress when the league goes on. I think they have a pretty good game plan and the way they approach these matchups. I saw some things out of Sports Burden that I liked as well. So I'm definitely thinking that these are two teams that I didn't know much about coming in, but there are some storylines building here, and I'm excited to see how they go.
Well, hopefully those storylines will grow and evolve into a very competitive season. And speaking of competition, just to wrap this one up for the final time tonight, in terms of the games we had here, CB Clockwork finds the victory of all three, of course, against Support Burn, but as well on the across-the-board side, Degenerate's Ascension faced a 3 loss themselves in the face of Divine Ascension Sapphire. So another major loss at the hands here of a team for Degenerate's Ascension, now sitting 0-6 in the league. I believe that's actually at the lowest, given that Cape Dogs Unleashed, who are still playing their final game right now, actually found a victory here against Classic Esports. So not completely undefeated anymore, or they found themselves a victory. Hawkthorn Esports versus Redacted went to 2-1, with Hawkthorn finding a subtle victory in their last and final game. And Zenigma versus Lotus White. Zenigma managed to pull that first one game out, but Lotus run it back and take the last two to find themselves a victory. So a lot of competition across the board. No one really expressly has a spot at the top of this league yet. It hasn't quite been defined. As for all of you guys at home, though, I want to thank you for coming out tonight and showing your massive support. Big thank you to J-Dog behind the scenes, running the production, helping us out through pre-show, and taking us back and forth from the 80 to Rift constantly. He's a wonderful producer to have. Of course, Shellatron and Hickory, both on the casting desk tonight, giving you that wonderful play-by-play and color analysis. And then Dunsey as well, and me, myself, Zephyr, giving you as much analysis as we can regarding these wonderfully two teams. If you want to support us in any further fashion, you can subscribe, follow, go to YouTube, Twitter, follow our Patreon if you really, really love us. If you want to show that support, and yeah, as Shellatron is showing in the camera, give us that sweet, sweet dollar that will inevitably come back and pay us at the end of the day. Oh,
Makes the world go around. The
Yes,
Rift
sir.
go round as well.
Yes, sir. Well, all that being said, I hope all of you stay safe and have a good night.